From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on your MTN statewide news on this Thursday. I'm Andrea Lutz. New at noon, we start at the Montana legislature, where early morning votes will advance several controversial bills on abortion and transgender issues. A panel approved bills to ban abortions in Montana after 20 weeks and restrict abortion-inducing drugs. Lawmakers also voted to allow a physician to give a woman the opportunity to see an ultrasound or listen to the heartbeat of a fetus. Another bill passed bans transgender athletes from participating on sports teams that don't align with their biological sex. Those bills now head to the House floor, where they're expected to pass. President Joe Biden is wasting no time getting to work after taking office, signing 15 executive orders and 2 directives. Only 2 recent presidents have signed executive actions on their first day in office, and each signed just 1. The orders include changes for immigration, climate change, racial equality, and the handling of the pandemic. More changes in those areas and beyond are expected from the Biden administration in the coming weeks. Dr. Jill Biden is already making history as the country's first lady. She'll become the first lady to hold a job outside of the White House, and she has been an educator for more than 30 years. She plans to keep teaching at Northern Virginia Community College. She's worked as a teacher for the entire 8 years that her husband served under the Obama administration. Jill Biden holds a doctorate degree and 2 master's degrees. Well, there have been 0 flu cases reported in Montana this year. That's according to health officials. And here's an indication as to why. The COVID-19 flu spread in the same way. Social distancing measures have stopped it from spreading as quickly, of course. And COVID-19 is the primary virus circulating right now, meaning the flu hasn't been able to overtake it. Finally, testing could play a factor. Someone with flu-like symptoms may opt for a COVID-19 test. If it comes back negative, most will not get tested for a flu test on top of that. Early research is showing mixed results for how current COVID vaccines protect against virus mutations. Scientists putting blood samples from 20 people who received the Moderna or Pfizer shot into a petri dish with coronavirus mutations. Well, in some cases, the antibodies had no problem fighting off the mutation, but others had a harder time. Researchers say the vaccines provide enough protection against current mutations, but there is concern for future variants. It was 1 year ago the first case of COVID-19 was discovered in the United States. It was reported in a county north of Seattle. Since it's infected more than 24 million Americans. Case numbers continue to rise, but so do the number of people getting vaccinated. And according to a CDC official, nearly 16 million coronavirus shots have been given. The Biden administration hopes to raise that number to 100 million in the next 100 days. While most of Montana competes for that first phase of the COVID-19 vaccine, distribution in Missoula County remains in phase 1A, and it will stay that way until at least the end of the month. Right now, there are still healthcare workers who need their shots. Vaccine amounts are still limited, and officials with the health department say they don't control the amount they receive. Allocations are determined by the state health department and the federal government. But when the vaccine is ready for the public, there'll be various locations to get it across town. Meanwhile, in the Flathead, health officials are using a hybrid model for their own vaccine distribution. Flathead County is wrapping up vaccinations for healthcare workers in phase 1A and beginning to administer the vaccine to people 70 and older for phase 1B. The health department administered more than 130 doses of the vaccine already this week, and they plan to double that amount today. Over 7,000 people are on the county's vaccine distribution list, and officials say residents could be called if there are current appointments that are canceled.
If we have open vials, we're calling people in that are on the list, so we have a call down list, and we're trying to leave there with no open vials.
Individuals in the Tier 1A or 1B wanting the vaccine are asked to call the COVID-19 vaccine line and fill out a COVID-19 vaccine request form that can be found on the health department's website. Hundreds of senior citizens in Butte arrived at the Civic Center to take the first of 2 shots, and they hope that will protect them against the coronavirus. But there could be some changes to this whole process in the future. The vaccinations were reserved for those 80 and older, and seniors were asked to call and make an appointment. Those with the Butte Health Department say it didn't get back to a lot of callers, though, as promised. They say, though, they hope to improve the process for the next round of vaccines. All right, turning to the weather now. Of course, we're checking in. We're almost to the end of the week, Miller.
Ooh, it's in sight there, Andrea.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a good weather for us.
Well, we're going to have to go through a bit of a speed bump. We've got snow in the forecast. Maybe not for the weekend, though, possibly on Saturday, and I'm going to tell you more about that in just a bit. But let's talk about the here and now. Now, yesterday we saw temperatures well above average, some of us getting into the 50s. Not the case today, as we've got that cold air coming in from the north, cooling us down mainly across Montana. We're seeing temperatures in the 20s and 30s in northern Wyoming as well. You can see we have some light flurries in Missoula down to Helena, also lower in Billings all the way down to Sheridan. And we could see some accumulation, especially if you're in the western part of Montana, southern Montana, and northwestern Wyoming. How much snow could we get, and how long is it going to last? That's the big question. Details on that coming up. Andrea.
Always the question. Okay, Miller, thanks for that. A new business is open in Great Falls, and it promotes self-care. The refinery offers products geared at treating yourself. They feature products coming from women-owned businesses. Just a few months ago, though, this entire shop was a laundromat that they recently renovated. The Gallatin County attorney says that they'll continue pursuing a case of a downtown Bozeman bar accused of violating the local closing time health rule. Attorney General Austin Knudsen asked the county to throw out the case now that the new administration has relaxed COVID-19 orders, but the county attorney says this is not a civil case, it's a state one, or it is a civil case, and that Knudsen doesn't have the authority to interfere. The health board has agreed, voting 7-1 to continue with the case, a decision that appalled that small business owner.
And I think you guys owe the small businesses and Rocking Our Bar an apology for singling them out.
I highly encourage you guys to dismiss this case. It's hurt Mike Hope's business. It's hurt other businesses.
All right, and the owner of the Rocking Our Bar said it is a shame the health board would continue to go after small businesses. He called members of that board power hungry, and he's hoping that they will change that decision going forward. The owners of Flying Squirrel in Missoula say they're going to have to close permanently after all. The owners say that the mandatory pandemic closure caused significant financial strain. They hope to find a way to stay open, but they say they cannot do it. Flying Squirrel has gyms in several states, and they hope to one day open again in Missoula. Older buildings in Uptown Butte are suddenly a real hot item for real estate. More than 10 recently sold or are under contract. Many in Silverboe County are hoping to see those old buildings brought back to life, and local leaders say the plan is to remodel the structures into apartments and condos with business spaces on the first floor. And an appreciation of history in these buildings is what many community members say they want to see preserved in a new and modern way. Don't we all? We do have more news ahead on the new news, including how a vision for the Southern Rail service across Montana is gaining some steam. We're going to have an update on this issue. And of course, Miller's going to be back in with a look at that statewide weather forecast.